Welcome to the Rachele and Cassandra show. Before we begin, our disclaimer. These bitches sound like they're giving legal and financial advice, but I promise you they're not.
Cassandra, are you doing it?
I am. Today, we have a special guest in the studio. It is Miss Trena Urban. We have all of her deeds and her qualifications, and she really, really wants to talk about the hold harmless millage. How's that?
Yay!
No,
Hello.
Rachel, you do the intro. Mine was the jokey intro.
Well, no, but the jokey intro is important. But really, we have Trena here today because she is an expert on tax value assessing. And in the world of real estate, if you've listened to our show, I don't know, more than 3 times, you know that we operate very heavily in an environment where the answers to questions are often, it depends. And one consistent theme that comes up a lot in real estate is, what's the value of my property? It depends on who you ask. Kind of like, does this room count as a bedroom if it has a closet? Or it doesn't have a closet, is it a bedroom? The answer is it depends on who you're asking. And Trena has a super unique and specific viewpoint when it comes to the value of a property. And I will shamelessly plug that she is an agent on the RX team at Next Home One in Brighton. She really brings in a layer of understanding of property values that I just don't think you can get anywhere else. And she's very highly trained. So I'm really excited to talk about taxable values. Barf. So it's a weird place I'm in right now.
Can I tell you, I told my husband, I said, we have a guest today. She's a tax assessor basically. And I'm so excited. Does that sound lame? And he goes, yeah. But for you, it sounds right. But it sounds really lame.
Yes. So, and Cassandra wasn't lying. Offline before the show got started, Trena specifically said, don't let me forget to talk about hold harmless millage. And I don't know if that's an appropriate place to start.
Not yet.
Start. I don't know anything about it.
No.
Start.
Nope. All right. Let's start by setting the stage for property values. And I'm going to do this from a real estate agent point of view. When I value a property, I have a dozen places I can look online. You can look in those same places. They're all different versions of Zestimates, algorithm-based tools that access whatever data they have access to. We don't know what that is. They do a formula, different weights for different pieces of data, and they spit out an opinion of value. And I'm doing air quotes if you're listening only, because it's literally just a freaking opinion. And then I do my own digging, and I look at what I consider relevant sold data to help establish what I think a property is likely to sell for. And from there, I reverse engineer a list price that is likely to extract the highest possible sale price, because it's always a range of value, right?
Yep.
One of the things that I look at is the state equalized value of a property, which you laugh because it's a joke.
It's always
low.
What
is that, Trena?
It's always low, right? So
always. Well, in
Why?
an improving market, it's always low, which is the market
Right.
we've been in.
Right.
In a decreasing market, a quickly declining market, could be the other way.
We're always trailing the market regardless.
Yes.
So assessed value only becomes state equalized value, SEV, after the state has okayed the assessor's value.
So start at the beginning. How does the assessor come up with a value?
We have guidelines that tell us what sales we can use to determine the move in a market. But I guess I'll back up. Our database contains all of the properties of this property, I guess, if you will, right? So we have a land value. We have the age of the home.
So when you say properties of the property, you mean elements of a piece of real estate.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
can you do a specific property? Like if you're talking about your house or my house.
My house. Okay, my house. I have a land value that we come up with, the assessor will come up with based on sales of either vacant land or that land value will have to be inferred based on usually using maybe a 20% of sale price of an improved property will get you land value, your estimate of land value.
Now, is that true for houses in subdivisions only, or houses on 30 acres? Or how does...
As a general rule of thumb, it's true for everything.
Okay.
But you'll have to, you can't just use one sale.
It depends.
Yeah, it depends again. Yeah. So then age of construction of the improvement, quality of construction.
Is this like the C4 kind of thing?
Yeah. Yep. Like, so again, every bit's gonna go into this database. We use a Marshall and Swift valuation tool. So are you on a basement? Do you have a brick home? Do you have a ranch? Do you have a second story? How many bathrooms? How bedrooms honestly don't matter to assessors.
Mm-hmm. Is it because you get the count for the square footage already?
Yeah.
So whether it's a bedroom or a foyer, it doesn't.
Right. It doesn't really add value. Plumbing for the bathroom adds value. Basement finish adds value. Your deck, your patio, your, anything you add to that property that has anything other than square footage will kind of play into the value. Then that building gets depreciated based on, again, it also depends. Some assessors will depreciate every year. Some will say, well, I don't think that you lose a percent per year in value. So we'll depreciate every other year. You only get a half percent per year.
So hold on. How are you depreciating the value of my property? My taxes never go down. My SEV hasn't gone down. It just keeps going up. So where's this depreciation phantom
I was going
reduction?
to ask. My last tax bill had a 1.07 increase for inflation. It literally says inflation, and I was like, okay, fantastic. But how does it depreciate if my taxes never go down?
So we get this depreciation, but then we have to look at sales in the neighborhood. And obviously sales are increasing the value, right?
Yeah.
But the assessor is told what time frame for sales they can use.
Like how far back in time? Like you can only go back 90 days?
You can only use a certain range.
Who tells you that?
The state.
And what is the range? Does it vary?
It's 24 months, right? The state tax
is.
commission, and it's a long look back.
But it's not the most recent 24 months. So
right.
Now values for 2022 just got set as of December 31st. That's tax day.
Okay.
When those sales were looked at to determine, it was April 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2021.
So that's a huge lag in the market.
Yeah.
By my mind says 16 to 24% value.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Which is why assessors are notoriously behind in this kind of market.
So,
because you're legally, the state dictates you have to be behind. So,
right.
Do you have opinions on whether that's the correct time frame? Because the state is making less money by being, in this case, being a year and a half in arrears, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's appropriate. But there's a lot of things that don't make sense.
Sure.
In the past, probably 5 years ago, that time frame was changed, and it was October to October. So they actually moved that time frame further. Mm-hmm.
Was that?
And I think it was to make it easier because you're setting values as of December 31st, and if all the sales aren't in and reviewed by the end of September, it causes trouble because you have to use, that then you're pulling all these sales in and you're reviewing your sales to make sure that they were bona fide arm's length transactions and kicking out outliers.
Where do you get your data? do you guys pull from the MLS?
Register of Deeds.
Oh, Register of Deeds. So the data that you're pulling includes, and I use these examples with my clients. If I look at the MLS, open market, free market sales, the market is determining the sale price. If I look at Register of Deeds, I'm going to see me selling my house to Cassandra for $1,000 because she's my sister. And that can really
You have to pull those.
sway. How do you know? What if it's not? What if you can't tell that Cassandra's my sister because she changed her name? Because Lord knows I'm not doing that again.
Well, looking at, let's just say that you sold to Cassandra for $20,000 less than market value. The assessor would have to look at the assessed value, which is already pretty low.
Yes.
And then your sale price and determine whether they think that's an outlier.
Okay.
So again, it depends, right?
This is a judgment call because
Can
my house
Can
could
I
be
ask?
full of water.
Is this? I was going to say, is this why I have some clients who say I got a note from the tax assessor and they want to come out to my house, and I just
Yes.
tell them, fucking shred the letter. Am I being a jerk by saying that?
No, you don't have to let anybody out there. I mean, there's a lot of people who, no, let's face it, nobody likes tax assessors. They know what we're here for.
I
right?
like you.
Personally, let's do a first-time home buyer scenario, because I have to have this conversation with my clients a lot, and it's probably a little bit above my pay grade, if you will. When I talk with a client about buying a new house, let's say I don't even know where to start. Where's the entry? They buy a house and they close on the. Hold on, you got to let me struggle through this shit, and then you can go. If a client buys, I know it's painful for me too, but I'll get there. Client buys a house, and the state equalized value and the taxable. Do we want to talk about why they're always different? No. Let's start with I buy a house. My client buys a house for $300,000, and they close on the house. And what is that? The determining factor of the value of the property because they just paid that much money for it?
It's actually illegal
What?
to value like that. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But the market just told us that the value of this property is $300,000.
But if that sale is not in the sales study time frame,
So it doesn't
can't
fall
be
inside
used.
of your historical brackets that are dictated by the state. You can't use it.
right?
So you're using a different data set than the appraiser is using and different than the buyers and sellers are using. Everybody's using different information.
So that sales study time frame then gives you, you calculate an economic condition factor for each sale. So assessed value of the improvement on the parcel versus sale price of the improvement portion, taking out the land value, gives you a number, an adjustment.
And this is
right.
Now, you're using a tool. You're plugging in sale price 300,000, property square footage 1,500, and it's doing this math for you.
I'll take a whole neighborhood of my ECF neighborhood, my economic condition factor neighborhood, and all the sales that I've determined are good sales will go into the program. Will spit me out a spreadsheet. It'll give me an ECF for each sale, saying, if your economic condition factor is over 1, then it's saying that we're valued way too low and we need to adjust way up, right? It'll give me I'll come up with an average, if you will, economic condition factor for all the sales in the neighborhood during that time frame. And then based on whatever my economic condition factor was last year, if my new calculated one is higher, I need to raise that neighborhood.
You raise all the houses in the neighborhood get hit.
That same ECF, yes.
So then you take that ECF and apply it to the prior assessed value, SEV,
Mm-hmm.
and that then rolls into the taxable value, which is different than the state equalized value?
No, because your taxable value doesn't change by anything other than the rate of inflation unless it's the year after purchase.
Okay. On a principal residence. Is that
No,
on
on
any property?
Any property.
So it's the rate of inflation dictates the increase in taxable value. Okay. Cassandra, get in here with your numbers brains.
Well, no, so
It's
my
like she's
general
talking
recommenda-
German and I'm
No,
listening
I
in
understand
English.
what she's saying.
No,
The look back
me too.
period is really rough. My general, Trina, I'm sure you've heard this and you're dying inside when I tell people what I generally tell people is your home is sold, the county clerk records it and knocks on the door of the tax assessor and says, "Hey, I got another one for you."
Yeah.
And I mean, that's literally what I tell people. And then the tax assessor gets to working on revaluing the property. And my general guideline to people is at the most, your taxable value is going to be half of what you paid for the property. And so when I do a forward looking worst case scenario property tax math for somebody versus current taxes, that's the math I do. I'm well aware that's a really dirty, shitty math and
It's the
inaccurate.
best way to do it, though. Give
Is
them
that-
worst
is
case
that
scenario.
okay?
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because eventually that's the most it's going to be, right? With the caps. I mean, unless you're in the house forever and inflation
If
keeps
you
going. But
If you get a great deal on your purchase and the assessor is valued over, then no, that's not always the worst it can be. But if you know you got a great deal on your purchase, you don't necessarily get to double dip by getting a great deal on your
So
taxes,
if
too.
I get a great deal on my
Okay.
purchase, my taxes aren't going to go down the following year. They're not. My taxable value is not connected directly to my purchase price.
No.
I did not know that.
so
I mean,
can
it's
I
a
ask
great
Of course,
You know,
tool,
yeah.
rule of thumb, but it's not actually connected in a causal way.
right. Like if assessor sets a value and then 2 months later the property sells and it sells for right where that assessor's value is, we're dancing around being like, look at, we did great, because we got the value right where the market is, which is obviously the goal, even though we are so far
Bound
behind
by historical data. So there's a very real possibility in a completely different market from the one we're in right now that
this is what I wanted to ask like
Your
three
tax-
times what I
Well,
was going to say. Does
no,
it take,
no, I'm
so it's
talking.
gonna-
I'm talking. You can't talk. I'm kidding. I'm fucking kidding.
Why I need to be in studio. This is unfair.
Well, I'll let you ask it then, but I think everybody already knows that it was my question.
oh
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
Let's
really
see.
shitty of me.
Go ahead.
Okay, in a declining market, there's a possibility that your property taxes could go up, even though the value of your property in the open market is going down. It has to be true.
It's true. In a declining market, though, the state changes the guidelines and we have to use a 1-year time frame.
What? They change the rules of the game while it's being
course.
played?
Of course.
But that's not to the benefit of the state.
No, because really everything is supposed to be to the benefit of the taxpayer.
Yeah.
It really,
And this
it
in the
really is.
benefit
It's only
of the
fair.
taxpayer.
Yeah.
My question was similar to Rachel's, even though I contend I had it before. If we go back to the tape where I'm like,
Yours is better,
So-
I'm sure.
it takes it. I was going to say the market crashed in 2008, right?
Yep.
It took tax assessors at least to 2009, maybe 2010 for them to adjust the value of everybody's home to reflect the lower values that were omnipresent. And then conversely, you're saying that probably this year and next year taxes will go up based on all of the ridiculous sales price
Oh, yeah.
differences.
Well, assessments,
around-
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
assessments are going to go up. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Just that
every year in February, you receive a notice that says at the top, this is not a tax bill.
Yes.
It's your notice of assessment. It's us telling you what your new assessed value, taxable value are. And it also tells you how you can protest,
Yes.
right? March Board of Review, you have to go protest there.
Can you
I
do that
protested in my board of review.
Can you do that any year?
Yeah.
Like last year I agree, this year I agree, next year I get it, and I'm like, this is how outrageous, I tell you.
Right.
I can go protest.
Oh, so many people do it. But then because of, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but because of uncapping, if you protest the first year, the year you uncap,
yes,
and the Board of Review can decrease you because they agree with you, you get your benefit that year, right? Your assessed and taxable come down. Board of Review can only look at your assessment. They cannot look at your taxable. They can't say, oh, gee, and they can only look at that year, the 1 year you're protesting. So if your taxable value is far below your assessed value, and the Board of Review can bring down your assessed value, but if they don't bring it down lower than your taxable, you don't get any tax benefit.
it does nothing.
You never save a penny.
Okay, I think that I had no idea. Did you know that, Cassandra?
I did not know that. And this is one of the jobs that I believe I have a few things in this industry that I think there should be like, I could hire somebody to do, which would be like, one, can I hire Trena to look at, scrutinize, and see if I can get a savings on my property taxes? I know I can't, but like hypothetically, that'd be a great person to hire. Would you do that in your own market, Trena? Could you be could you do it for me in Kalamazoo if I hired you?
Yeah. I think it would be unethical to do it in my own market. I'm setting the assessments and protesting them. I shouldn't be setting them where they are if I'm helping protest them.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So let's do a newly born house. Vacant land. We all agree.
I was going to say, go ahead.
No.
I had a side question about what she said earlier.
Do your side question.
I can do it off camera. It's not a big deal.
Oh, no. Oh, God. You can't just leave everybody hanging. What is your side question?
It has to do with an appraisal I got. And she mentioned brick and she mentioned the lot. I have a double lot. The appraiser gave me no value and gave me all single lots. And then I have a brick house and he used a bunch of vinyl sided houses. And the realtors are fucking incensed, justifiably to a degree, but there's no adjustments at all for it. And I didn't know that the tax assessor gives, 20% of the value is the land only. So I should have more value there. And then brick is weighted heavier than vinyl. That's all. That's my question.
And this kind of points back to that whole, it depends on who you're asking. Like the lens that a tax assessor looks at your property through is completely different from the one that the appraiser is looking through, which is completely different than the one that you're looking through, which is different than the one your listing agent is looking through, which is different from the one your buyer is looking through. It's like a big cumbersome Venn diagram. And when you sell a property, all of these circles converge. And if you're lucky, enough of them agree that your sale closes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if your circles are all floating too far away from each other, if you're tracking with my analogy,
I can visualize it.
Shit gets difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I feel like I could really make something out of this, like the bubbles. Don't get into the bubbles. We need the flowers, not the bubbles. I think visually. So everything to me is a diagram of some sort. Yeah. Okay, so can we go back to the newly born house?
Yes.
Okay, so
I'll allow it.
You'll allow it. Thank you.
I'll allow it.
Let me know if I go over time. All right, newly born house. We all agree that the lot value for easy math, I don't know, you need to do math, right? So I'm going to give you easy math. What is an easy number? $10,000. Is that too easy? $100,000?
10's fine, but it's not realistic.
All right. $100,000 parcel. I know. I just wanted easy math so that the listener can track. Yeah. But we got a $100,000 vacant piece of property. All of the circles converge and we all agree. It's well established. This is a $100,000 parcel. They're all identical in this neighborhood. I build a house. Mm-hmm. And how do you decide that first the house is done and I have occupancy and I moved in? How do you decide the value of that house? It's the first one in the neighborhood.
That's all going to be based on the Marshall and Swift in the database.
So this is
every bit of every piece of that home is going to go into this valuation tool.
Okay, so by piece, you mean like, does it have a front porch?
Yep.
Or does it have a front wraparound porch?
Well, it's going to be size of the porch. Is
Okay.
it a covered porch or not?
Okay.
Is it, again, a brick home? Is it 2-story or one? Does
Do
it
you
have a
care
basement?
about if it's a brick home or if it's just brick siding?
No, it's really all this.
It's a nominal
it's the same.
distinction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because let's face it. It's
brick siding.
there's no homes like actually built like
Our local Michigan castles, though, don't we have those? Right.
Yeah.
How would you value that? Okay, so back to our newly born house. We build this house. It takes 9 months, just like a baby. You establish a value. Go ahead.
Just sorry to interrupt. So if you're using Marshall and Swift, how current is Marshall and Swift, and were they taking into account the insane price of lumber and materials over the last year?
They adjust, I believe, yearly, and they do adjust to your local market.
Okay.
So
That's it.
I
just
can't really
wondered
talk to that. I can't speak to that.
It's an
But they
algorithm.
do, yeah.
It's another
Yes.
AI tool. Plug in the information. These are all very circular, too, because what I'm hearing are some overlaps with what appraisers do. Is it customary for the area? Like, how much credit do you get for the basement? Well, does it depend? If all of your competing houses have a basement, you're just expected to have one, and you get a D value if you don't, right?
It's based on cost of construction, though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's still a D value because it's cheaper to pour
Back to
slab.
my March Board of Review.
Yes.
That's the only time we can really look at a parcel on a singular appraisal type basis. So sometimes it is good for you to come in and protest, because while we have all the cost of construction of your parcel or your home and then depreciated and then adjusted to the sales in the market, sometimes yours really is just kind of a unicorn,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And shouldn't necessarily be adjusted up the value based on what everything else in the market's doing, because
Right.
it's not really the same.
Right. Well, and so much like Cassandra's story of the county clerk walking over to the assessor and saying, knock, knock, I got one for you. What I tell my clients is the property tax assessor doesn't have time to look at every single freaking property in the community that they serve. So they are applying a piece of math to what they already have to establish your value. To a degree, it sounds like that's true, but to a degree, it sounds like that's not true.
Well, that piece of math is actually a requirement, but
right, but you
should be singularly looking at every sale. You should have enough staff
right,
in your office.
every
Yeah,
sale,
yeah.
but not for the taxable value of the property, not the
right.
state equalized value.
Right.
For the taxable value, you're literally just plugging in an accelerator,
Right.
or
Correct.
a decelerator, depending on what
Yep.
the inflationary activity looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, if he wants to bring up, we do have an attachment. You guys can find it in the links or whatever, and you
Oh,
can
yeah,
bring it
this
up.
is-
We don't have to go over it, but this is
We
the
should.
form that describes the math and when and the rules that Trina has to follow. And it says City of Portage, a natural place to move, but they're set by the state. It's not like the municipality has its own, from what I understand. Is that correct,
So-
Trina?
Yeah. No,
And-
it's a state law.
This is proposal A.
Yep.
And
Does this have
was
to do
passed
with-
in 94?
I remember this. It was a big deal, but doesn't this have to do with homestead exemptions? No.
Yes.
Yes.
So proposal A, when it was passed, did enact the homestead exemption. It also enacted the PRE. So it enacted,
Principal residence exemption is what a PRE is.
correct.
Same
The
as
six-
homestead exemption.
Yes.
So, but it also started uncapping of taxable value. So prior to 1994, whatever your assessed value was, your taxable value, well, you didn't have a taxable value, but you paid taxes on that.
Period.
So, yeah.
Period. Hard stop.
Yep.
One value. The state views your property is worth this. That's what your taxes are.
Goes
based
up by 10%, taxes go up.
on. Okay.
There's no cap on it. So there was no budgeting, if you will.
So proposal A did what with that?
It created the taxable value.
So that's different, which is why you can have a state equalized value of X and a taxable value of Y.
Correct. So the year after a transfer of ownership, your taxable value uncaps to whatever your assessed value is that year. I'm going to use my parents' house, for example.
Yes.
They bought it in 1975. Their taxable value is way lower than their assessed. If someone purchased it today,
Yes.
next year, their taxable would, let's just say their assessed is $300,000.
Yep.
And their taxable is $175,000. If someone purchased it today, assuming their value didn't change for next year, their taxable would jump from $175,000 to $300,000, almost doubling their taxes.
Yes. So the new owner who just bought the property, who had their mortgage approval based on this old data, because that's all that we have and that's all we can use, or we being Cassandra, these people might be in for a little bit of a shock after that first year of making payments to find out they did not pay enough.
Yes.
To cover the new tax bills.
Yeah. So I use my own house when I talk with people about this. I go, hey, bought my house in 2010. It was a foreclosure. We paid $130,000 for it. I could sell it today for triple that because the market's improved and we got a great deal on it. My taxes are currently $3,000. You buy my house, they're going to triple. Look at $9,000. That's the easiest way for me to do it. When I tell you what I think your taxes are going to be, that's like my dummy math because I don't have Marshall and Swift and all of her really cool tools, nor do I have the time or expertise to do it. Is that somewhat correct? Eventually, that would be the worst it would be.
Yes. Yeah. And, the assessor's office gets calls all the time from people asking, can you give us an estimate? We're happy to do that because that's so much better than someone coming in crying that they're going to lose their home.
Yeah.
Over the tax increase.
That's always my advice to my client. Don't let me do it for you. Call and find out about the property that you want to buy. What's it going to be? Mm-hmm. Ish, ballpark. We all know it's just a ballpark.
Yeah. Yeah. But, the only way you can say for certain is if you purchase on December 31st, values set as of December 31st, I know next year what your taxes are going to be.
So since we're right here talking about assessed values and property taxes, what are some intelligent ways that people, what's a useful tool that somebody could take into a conversation with a property tax assessor? How can you intelligently contest the value? I know how I would, but I have realtor tools that can help me.
Sales in the neighborhood, which most assessing offices have on their website. You can do a search.
Okay.
If you bought your home, even if you got a great deal on it for less than the assessor has it valued, use that to your advantage.
Okay.
Bring in your appraisal. But, most likely when you purchase that property, you know if you got a great deal. Most assessors are going to tell you that we know you got a great deal on it. Right?
So how much leeway do you have if you're using mathematical formula and data? How much leeway do you really have when revisiting and revising a contested value?
Well, it's actually not the assessor that can do anything. It's the board of review.
Right.
So the board of review gets to tell the assessor whatever if they feel bad for you, that you can't pay your tax bill, they can choose to drop your value.
Okay, did everybody hear that? That's super important. So you can go in there armed with data, but also bring a good story because the board of review is people and they tell the assessor what to do.
I mean, a good board is going to look at,
of course,
the value, and not your story. But
they're not bound by any kind of math or regulation, it's literally people hearing your story. So can I
tell you? Oh, go ahead.
Yep. I was just going to spit out when my ex-husband and I bought a house that we lived in. The year after we moved in, they valued the property significantly higher than we paid for it, and it was a turd of a house. And I was one of the crying people. I went in there and I was like, if you think it's worth that, then I'll sell it to you right now. You can have it. But they adjusted it. I didn't know. I wasn't playing a card. I was literally a stressed out young woman with little kids and not a lot of money.
Yeah. And if it truly isn't, you know, there's a lot of people who will ask you, come look at it. It's really not
what you think.
And the board will send the assessor out, and the assessor will, you know, a good assessor is going to say, yeah, well, there's this going on. You know, I think our board I went out on 7 this year like that. And yeah, okay. Because we don't get to go in these properties.
So now you're talking condition. So you may presume all the houses in the neighborhood are granite and fancy, and this one is builder grade laminate, vinyl floors, something like that.
Well, we assume they're all in this average condition, average state of repair. So you don't get punished for putting in a brand new kitchen, you know, punished in your tax bill. But you also don't get a benefit for having a 1970s kitchen.
Okay.
Right? But the people that asked us to come out and look at their property, they truly were like, you know, basements that had tree roots that were pushing the basement wall in, and you know, things like that. And we can do something there until you fix it. Yeah. Once you fix it, you're gonna get, you know, you're gonna get bumped back up.
I'm telling
you,
it's
only fair.
Yeah, you pay either way. You're either gonna live in a certain way, or you're gonna pay the taxes. Yeah. What were you going to say, Cassandra? Do you even remember? I'm sorry.
I do. I was going to say we're cut from the same cloth because we turned a house into a rental. We vacated my old house. You remember it. Mom and dad own it now, but it was a rental before they purchased it. And the assessed value went up. I didn't sell it, but the assessed value jumped when I did the PRE removal because it wasn't my primary, which I got to say, you guys can fucking find out when something's a rental immediately. I didn't even file it. It was insane. But I literally went into the board of review because with a bunch of comparable sales, and did the same thing you did without the tiers. Actually, I had Adam speak too, because he's far more
eloquent
than I am. He was
like
less
an attorney.
Emotional. Yes. Very argumentative in a very rational way. And I was like, this house isn't worth that. You fucking buy it. Come look at the shitty basement that it was built in 1920 with 3 additions, and it's all like partial weird walls, and it's damp, and get the fuck out of here. Yeah. But I didn't cry, but I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Buy it. Have at it, man.
If that's your opinion, somebody write me a check. You can have it.
Yeah. They adjusted it down without having to come to the house, but.
So you do have some room, and it is people on the other side of that conversation.
Yep.
So now can we talk about a hold harmless millage? What the hell is a millage?
Okay.
Wait, what the hell is a millage? Let's start there, because it's a word that means a thing. I don't think people know what it means.
So it's a certain amount of dollars per 1,000 of your taxable value.
And it's always per 1,000.
Yep.
Does it estimate up if I'm like 350,700? Does it count as 351,000?
No.
Oh, it's so
350.7.
It's
okay.
It's
math.
math.
So you do have to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know, dude. There are weird rules on property transfers or on the 500s.
Oh, right.
So do you do the decimal? Yes. Okay.
So certain amount of dollars per 1,000 of your taxable value that go to each taxing authority. So your principal residence that was created in 1994 was meant to exempt you from 18 mills per 1,000 for school operating taxes.
So that's
so dumb and backwards.
It is.
So
Why?
fucking backwards.
Like the people who have the students in the school are the residents, and they're not the ones paying for the education of their children. That's so fucked up.
It's so dumb. I wonder why our schools are underfunded.
Well, wait till we talk about hold harmless, because I think you're going to lose your mind.
Well, let's talk. So walk us through this millage. So you've got a fee per 1,000, and if it's your principal residence, you're not paying for the school.
Right.
What happens if you have a community that doesn't have any non-principal resident? Is it just the businesses that pay for the? Why would you exempt residents from paying for the education?
Because the state is paying for the education.
Oh, the state.
So the state,
Where's the state
the
getting the
proposal
money?
A of 1994 actually enacted a pure per pupil number to give to the school districts.
Which is why we now have schools of choice.
Funding, so that Rochester Hills students get the same per versus
Detroit
Yep.
yes,
versus
that's the reason
Harrison.
why.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a good idea on paper. Maybe the spirit of the guideline was one thing and what actually happened is another thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you got your millages
It was 6,400, I believe. Does that? I don't know if
per
that.
student.
Yes.
That feels like it's in the right
It was
neighborhood.
either 64 or 6,500.
If they're there on count day.
If they're there on count day, yes.
No, count day. Actually, getting off topic. I
Go
think you
for
have.
it.
I think you have to be there for 30 days before and 30 days after count day. If you come any of those days, you get counted. Believe me, I looked during this whole.
COVID thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then why,
Really? Then why
does
do
the
they?
school make such a big fucking deal about count day?
Exactly.
Tied to
I don't
money.
know. I don't
Probably
know.
because the school only takes the time to do it that one day. They're trying to get it off their plate.
Maybe.
It's the
Okay, so-
final count day. Okay. I couldn't not do that.
So any school districts who were receiving more than the 64 or 6,500 per pupil.
The best, can I just interject
Yeah.
with some Google results? The budget guarantees baseline funding of $8,700 for every student next year. So this is the budget. I'm sure that changes
I think,
annually.
yeah.
This year it ranges from $8,111 to $8,529 per student. So it's not a huge spread.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
So at the time Proposal A was enacted, if their per pupil funding from their taxes was more than the $6,400 or $6,500, they could enact a hold harmless millage.
Who's they? The community?
The community. So Southfield, for example.
So if they're collecting just boatloads of tax revenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Southfield, for example, is one of 52 communities in the state who originally enacted this hold harmless millage. There was a vote. The voters,
Was this people opting out of Proposal A at the time that Proposal A was a thing?
they were opting out of taking the 18 mil exemption. So they said, even if I own and occupy my home and it's my PRE, I'm going to give you that extra money. Take it.
To the state
Take it
or
and give it to the
co-
school. Take it and give it to the school. We want the schools to be great.
Is that, okay, so if I do, let's say I'm in Genoa Township, let's say Genoa Township did that, which they did not, but let's say that they did, so I'm still paying my full taxes. Is that 18 mills staying in Genoa or is it going to the state?
It's going to your school district.
So it's staying local.
Yeah.
Okay, so these communities that did this hold harmless millage are paying the extra but keeping it at home.
Yeah.
Okay?
But there was no end date on it. It's still there
Like in perpetuity.
into perpetuity. Yeah. Yeah. So, and no one seems to know about it is the problem.
Can they opt to decide? So it was a one-shot deal.
They have to, someone has to do whatever work it requires to get it on the ballot, which would be a huge undertaking.
Wouldn't that be easy? Just be like, let's lower your taxes. Wouldn't
Everybody,
you like to
and
save
only that community
2%?
has to. Who has to do the vote? Just the community.
Yeah. But somehow it has to get on the ballot. So you have to go through, we tell people all the time, go talk to your.
So there is no principal residence exemption in Southfield. I mean, the
There
exemption is
is.
there, but it's not an 18 mil break.
Yes. It was meant to be an 18 mil break until last year. It was only a 3 mil break. And this year it's now a 6 mil break because we had some millage rate changes. But think about it. If you buy a $400,000 house and your taxable value is now $200,000 and you're missing out on 12 mils that you should be paying less times 200, $2,400 a year
Yeah.
additional.
Yeah.
Can I
Southfield
ask,
millage rate is
are the school districts who did
Yeah.
the hold harmless like fucking
Kicking ass.
amazing?
Yeah. Are they lovely?
Make great buildings.
mean, you're putting me in a position here, but
Right.
I mean,
Go do your
I
own
don't-
research. Do your own research.
Okay, I will do my own research. Can
I'm
I have
gonna
the list
Google.
of the 52 communities.
Okay, so what was-
there were 52 originally
Now how many?
who did this.
And what was the logic
There's
at the
not
time?
many.
What was their logic?
I think they just wanted to have great schools. Like, let's just our kids go here.
Let's forgot that it's all run by the mafia and it's just a bunch of extra money for people to take.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, there are homes in the City of Southfield that are in Birmingham School District. They pay less taxes. They pay a lower millage rate.
Why?
Than the Southfield School District, because it's only Southfield School District that decided to do this.
Really?
Hold harmless.
Was it the school district protectionist mindset trying to keep the money for themselves that drove the...
Oh, I'm sure the school district was behind all of it. Right.
Keep our local money with your local students. We don't.
It's always about the children. The
children. Hey, this is a total side question, but I've been wondering it forever. I think I know my answer. But what municipality in Michigan has the highest millage rate? Do you know?
I think it's Detroit.
I thought it was fucking Romulus. It's insane what Romulus charges for taxes. It's like 74 mils.
God.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I think Southfield's non-PRE is 66, 65. Their PRE is 59. It used to be 63. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now I want to go see what y'all got on your millages. Like I joked about Romulus. I'm like, what? Everybody who lives in Romulus is subsidizing the airport or something?
We have the zoo.
Tax exempt. I think that the residents are supporting some other tax exempt thing and therefore paying more. That's just my speculation, but I don't know.
2021 millage rates. There's a list. If anybody wants to go look, michigan.gov/taxes. You can download a PDF of the 2021 millage rates for the entire state sorted by county.
Do you think I don't have that bookmark already on my desktop?
Do you?
Fuck yeah, I do. I use it all the time.
Total millage rate for principal residence or AG exemption. Oh, do we want to talk about agricultural exemptions?
I don't have any.
None? Oh, because of where you are, right? Yeah. And there's also veteran exemptions, aren't there, Cassandra? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, there are. Any veteran with 100% disability rating, there's a little letter that will come, is eligible to not pay property taxes. They do have to renew it and show every year to the tax assessor that they're still tax exempt. If they forget to file, they're fucked. They can refile the year after. There's no like,
you must babysit this.
Late. You must babysit this. But I mean, I just had a tax exempt vet buy a $350,000 house in Dexter, and I mean, he's saving $500, $600 a month, $6-7 grand a year. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't have to pay it.
Hoop worth jumping through.
There's also a hardship exemption.
What is that?
Poverty. Well, it used to be called poverty. It's now hardship.
Right. We can't use the word poverty.
You have to meet federal
The bum exemption.
You have to meet federal poverty guidelines in order to qualify. So for
you wouldn't even own a house if you meet federal poverty guidelines.
You wouldn't.
Well, but if you had the house and then went into poverty, think about it. I bought my house cheap. My mortgage payment is low. I go on hard times. Now I can't pay my taxes. I don't want to lose my house too. I can barely afford my mortgage. What do I do, Trena?
It's mostly senior citizens.
Yeah.
We have several in Southfield.
Fixed income.
Yeah. So there's an application. You have to open it. You know, it's giving them your bank account, giving them your last year's taxes, opening up everything, right? I'm sure it's embarrassing.
Prove you're poor as fuck.
And you have to do it on the front end before you lose everything.
Right. But laws have changed around that. And this year, our poverty people pay no taxes.
So you have to be below the federal poverty guideline?
Yes. However, some communities like Southfield add 20% to that number to help you qualify.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So the property tax assessor is not necessarily a bad guy.
No.
You're here to help. You're here to help me win. Who knew?
We're here to be fair, not bad.
Fair and equitable.
Okay, I just wanted to let you guys know that I think I've figured out the highest millage rates in the state of Michigan. It's E-Course City.
Yeah. What's the millage rate?
The principal homestead exemption is 77.6 or 78.1, depending on if they're in River Rouge or E-Course schools. And if it's not principal residence, it's over 108, which equals over 10% tax rate for people. 108 mills is 10.8, almost 11% of your value for taxes is what your businesses are paying, which why the fuck would you move into E-Course City if you're a business? Why the fuck would anybody move into E-Course City?
Right.
What's there?
I don't even know.
Okay. Anyway.
Wow. She was saying E-Course.
High?
108 mils
What?
for non-PRE.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where did you find that on that website?
Yeah.
So annoyingly, it is a PDF, not a spreadsheet. You can't just sort it by value. Did you go through the whole thing?
I did a control F and typed in Wayne because I know Wayne County has the highest. And then I just did a quick scroll on Wayne.
Gotcha. Okay. Smart.
No place is as high as Wayne. I don't know why. It's the most people, they should each be paying less because but whatever. I digress.
Yeah.
That's
insane.
Yeah. And millages get voted. They're voted in, right? So they can just, your
millage increases are voted. You know,
you had to start somewhere though. So
I just got a renewal millage request in the mail. I just mailed it 2 days ago because I mail in my fraudulent ballot, but I did whatever.
Oh no, no, we're not doing that here. Not today.
Anyway, we just had a special millage, which I probably wouldn't have voted on had they not mailed it to me because it's like a one-off renewal of a transportation millage that was, they always tell us it was first done in 2000 and has been renewed every 5 years since. So it's up for voting again or whatever. They tell us
Make
when
it sound like it's an easy yes for you. Just say yes.
Nothing will change. Just say yes. So I always vote no on those because I'm just a bitch. And I know my neighbors will give away the farm. So I just keep voting no. They will. They just voted for.
Can you hear these guys laughing in studio, Cassandra?
No, I can't.
They voted so great.
For free housing for every homeless person. They voted to build a tech center to teach kids who were going to leave, to teach them trades. We're building this big center. We already give people free college. It's been horrible, but
I'm going to move to your community.
Everything's free here, and it shows.
Awesome. Principal residence exemption. I'm going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to do that. And on that note, okay, so what else? Your opinion of value is based on old math that is dictated by the state. Taxable value is is set when it's uncapped the year after you purchase your property and is influenced by the rate of inflation, so dictated by a math formula applied to that initial rate. Unless what?
Unless you put an addition on your home or add anything.
Does that uncap?
Value. Doesn't uncap.
But
it adds new to your
They can get in there and it's a plug-in.
Yeah.
It's a plug-in on the value.
I should not request any permits for any work.
No. Always get a fucking permit.
You want a permit?
I'm just messing around.
But also, I mean, there's some stuff that, you're going to get away with, right? A basement finish without a permit.
Like a Costco canopy that I bought yesterday. Thank you very much. Good. I did. They had 3 left.
No, that's actually not going to add anything. But a new deck, a new patio, basement finish, adding any bathrooms.
But if I have a deck
if
I have a deck and it's rotten and I tear it off and rebuild it, that's a wash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless you add size to it.
Unless I make it bigger. Just a little bit. Just 20% bigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or you change it from wood to Trex. I mean,
okay.
It depends on the community, right?
It depends on what's customary for the area.
Yeah.
Always it just depends. Mm-hmm. I had a question that was in my brain and escaped. You can fight your value.
It was canopy.
What? No, it was a question. It wasn't a question. It was a part of the summary. So I was just kind of going through the high points that we've hit that are going to be useful for people to remember. And one of the most important ones, I think, is take a crack at arguing your value if you believe it
Yeah.
to be inaccurate, especially if has to be less than your, what'd you say? Has to be less than your
If
SEV to have a tax impact?
your SEV times 2, right?
Right.
That's your, yeah. If you paid less than you're assessed at, then it's worth a shot.
Yep. And that there are helps out there if you're facing hard times,
Yes.
which I did
or
not
a
know.
disabled veteran.
Yep.
Or a disabled veteran. What else? What did you come here thinking you were going to talk about?
This.
Yeah? Was there anything besides the whole
I really wanted that hold harmless.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
Especially
How many communities are left with that? I'm sorry.
I didn't look. Not many. I want to say less than 10.
Are you
I'm
Googling?
going to try
I'm
to find
Googling.
out. I don't know how to find that out.
All right, let's see. States. No, states in Michigan. Communities.
Is this a
Hold harmless millage. So
You might even want to look school districts with hold harmless.
hold harmless millage means for a district with a 94.95 foundation allowance greater than 6,500, which you said, the number of mills by which the exemption from the levy of school operating taxes on a principal residence qualified agricultural property. I'm stopping. This is so awful. It's like word salad.
a school funding glossary for civilians? Bridge.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Civilian.
it's an article from 2014, but it does mention the 50 plus historically higher spending school districts in the state that are allowed to tax their local property owners additional mills known as hold harmless mills. They talk about the lottery.
Oh, no. Ooh, do you have anything intelligent to say about that?
No.
Okay.
It doesn't give me the list.
So I have a question because not to just keep dragging this out, but I do like to keep dragging this out. What is the difference between a property tax appraisal? Like you're an appraiser, right?
Yeah.
So if I sell my house, I get an appraisal. And is it the same? Do you guys use the same tools?
No, because we do mass appraisal. The only time we can do that singular appraisal is Board of Review or tax tribunal. So if you don't succeed at Board of Review and you want to, you can appeal to the tax tribunal. You'll get a hearing and I'll come with my appraisal of your home.
What if I
Only
come
yours.
in with an appraisal that I hired Mike Wilbanks to do on my house, and I'm like, but look, Mike Wilbanks says my house is only worth this.
You'll get a copy of mine and I'll get a copy of yours beforehand and I'll try to pick yours apart.
Okay, so this is like going to battle. This is like entering the Thunderdome with Trena.
I mean, if I'm questioning whether my original appraisal, the mass appraisal really hit the mark on your home, then I'm willing to change that.
You
but
are?
If I truly think,
Unlike a mortgage appraisal, she's actually willing to revisit and revise. That's amazing. That right there is kind of miraculous.
I have to do an ROV today. I'm like really excited to be told to pound sand.
What you have to do a what? An ROV?
Oh,
what is that?
An ROV, a reconsideration of value request from the appraiser, who will be like, I'm using that comp from last June.
Yeah.
It seems relevant today.
I did my work. I see things you don't.
So I think I have a copy of the 22 districts in Detroit that do the hold harmless, and none of the schools will surprise you. I can send it to you, but if you were thinking Warren, Troy, Royal Oak, West Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills, Birmingham, Southfield, right? Something like that. Melvindale, Allen Park. If you're thinking Wyandotte, anything with a better school, they literally list it as a system of have and have nots, and you can literally see.
Is this by design to keep out, to keep some out?
Probably. I will send you the link. It's a Cranes Detroit link, and it's from
Can we put that in the show notes?
Yeah, Cassandra, send that to me too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be valuable.
I'll give you valuable.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My real estate brain is like,
and now I'm a little incensed that she brought it up, because I kind of I understood what she was saying, but you literally can see the geographic fucking divide. So if you're listening, buy a house in Southfield that has Birmingham schools. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I bet those go for way more than other ones. Do they give an adjustment?
There's a really
No?
small area, and there's some really nice homes, and then there's a few that are just really like
Not
1,200
regular.
square foot ranches, but they're in that little pocket.
You get
They're
the
affordable.
best. The best.
They're more for the same house, but not a whole lot more.
Yeah, those kids are getting way more funding. Like some of them are getting upwards of $11,000 per pupil in funding versus the $8,000 Rachel mentioned, which is quite considerable.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And this millage, this hold harmless millage is also referred to as a supplemental millage.
I haven't heard that.
It's according to this one Google result.
According to her research.
It's Michigan.gov. It's a .gov though, you guys. It's valid. .gov, do you know? Okay. Well, do you have any other questions?
No, I loved it. I'm now really annoyed at the hold harmless millage, and these people will never vote it out because they don't care about the money. It's all about the boutique image of the names that these cities carry.
I think so. I think Southfield would vote it out.
Yeah. But how do you get it on the ballot?
Right.
Well, maybe someone out there hears this and is in a position to do something about it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Southfield's among the top in funding. More per pupil than Royal Oak or West Bloomfield or Troy.
Well,
they
Warren.
have closed down schools that are run down. It's, I mean, just looking at it, it would make me angry.
Yeah.
If I live there.
Well, what is your experience with the customer base? Can you speak to that? Do people come in and go, yeah, we're good with it? Or do they come in
No.
and go, what the
They
ham bone?
had no idea. Everybody that you tell, that's upset, I'm going to do something about it. But then you realize how much work it is, right?
Yeah. Where do you even start?
Online petition. Can't you start an online petition? Is that valid to get something on the
I'm
ballot?
sure you could.
Change.org. That's
Yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah.
I did change.org because they took away my UPS driver and everybody in the neighborhood loved him and they brought him back.
Aw. That's sweet.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Grassroots movements at grassroots movement at its finest. I'm super
He got
proud
fired
of you.
like 6 months later. But anyway,
Poor guy. Should have taken that transfer.
got brought back. So
On that note,
yeah.
okay. I guess that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Thank you,
Thanks
Trina.
for having me.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye.
Trina.
Bye.
The info given is current as of this recording, but remember, the market changes and real estate is hyper local.